Good morning, everyone. Today's Thursday. We are learning the last and final. We learned the final Perek of Mishnah's Trumas. Perek is Aleph. Baruch Hashem. We're cruising along. Today's shir is sponsored Lila Nishmas Aranachim and Simcha Kohen. Yeshua Mordechai ben Shep Slow Bracha Service for Leib. And Binah Moshe ben Yosef Melin Hashemas all have an aliyah. Amen. Today, starting off the Perek Yud Aleph. Mishnah Aleph, Ein Noistin Devela Ugrogeros, Leso Chamuyas. One may not put pressed figs or dried figs of Truma into fish fat in order to flavor the fat. Why? Because once the figs release their flavor, one usually discards and destroys the figs, and you may not use the figs for this purpose. They're not, Truma produce can not go to waste. Aval noistin as hayayin lemuyas. But one may put wine of Truma into fish fat, because the wine that is left in the fat, because the wine is left in the fat and eaten with it and is not destroyed. Other cases, the ein mifatimin es hashemen. One may not perfume the Truma oil with one may not perfume the Truma oil by soaking spices in it, because the spices will absorb some of the oil, and since the spices are eventually removed from the oil and thrown away, then therefore the Truma oil that's absorbed in them will go to waste, and you can't do that. I will oisin as hayayin yenumlin, yenumlin. Well, one may make wine of Truma into yenomilin. I'm not sure how to say that. I mean, that's a beverage of spiced wine by flavoring it with honey and pepper. Even though the honey and pepper absorb some of the Truma wine, in this drink, the honey and pepper remain in the wine and are consumed with it, and none of it goes to waste. And the next case, ein mevashlim yain shel Truma. One may not cook Truma wine. Because by cooking it, he reduces it. Since when wine is cooked, some of it evaporates. This is considered destroying the wine and is therefore forbidden. So it sounds like you're not going to find on the market any Truma wine that's mevushal, according to this. Not that you find it nowadays, because we don't have it nowadays, but saying by the times of the Beis Hamikdash, when you actually had Truma going to Kohanim, you probably were not going to find, it's unlikely to find the Truma wine that was mevushal. Rabbi Yehuda Matir, Rabbi Yehuda permits it. He says you can cook the wine of Truma with Neshum, because by cooking it, he improves the wine, since and therefore it would be a constructive use of the wine and not a waste, even though some of the wine is lost. So that's machlokas of the Tana Kama with Rabbi Yehuda, and again, we'll see what happens when Mashiach comes. If they're actually going to have it on the market or not. It's not no give for Bisman Azep. Mishnah Beis, Devash Tamarim. If a non-Kohen unintentionally consumes honey from Truma dates, Yayin Tepuchim, and cider from Truma apples, the chometz sizvanis, or vinegar from Truma winter grapes, ushar kol may peiros or Truma, or any other fruit juice from Truma fruit. Rabbi Lezer mechayiv karen chomesh. Rabbi Lezer rules that he is liable to pay the principal, and the extra fifth, just as if he eats Truma fruits. Because juice of a Truma juice of a Truma fruit has the same status of the produce itself. Rabbi Yeshua Poter, Rabbi Yeshua exempts the non-Kohen from paying that extra fifth, because in his opinion, the fruit juices do not have the same status of regular produce. and therefore they would not pay that chomish. Rabbi Eliezer Matami Mishum Mashke. Rabbi Eliezer considers date honey, apple cider vinegar of winter grapes, and all the other fruit juices to be tummy as a beverage. That they mean that they are subject to the laws of Truma of beverages. Amar Rabbi Yeshua challenges Rabbi Eliezer, and he says, "Lo manu chachamim shiva mashkim kamoni betamim." That the Chachamim did not list seven beverages, like peddlers listing spices. The Chachamim in Machshirim, they gave a list of 7 specific liquids that are subject to the laws of Truma. We know them as Yad, Shachat, Dam. Yad is Yayin, and dew. Yayin and Dam, which is wine and blood. Shachat is shemen, which is olive oil. Ches is milk, chalav. Tes is tal, and Dam is devash, which is honey, and shachat dam. Do water, wine, olive oil, blood, milk, and bees honey. What's the mem? Mayim, water. Yashach dam. The dam is blood. Yeah, I'm so confused. No, okay, again. Yad is yayin and dam, which is wine and blood. Shachat is shemen, chalav, and tal, which is olive oil, milk, and dew. And then dam is devash and mayim, which is honey and water. Those are the 7 beverages that are subject to the laws of Tumah. Aval Amru Shiva Mashkim Tamayim. Rather the Chachamim said that when the Chachamim said that the seven beverages are tamei, they meant specifically those 7. Ushar kol hamashkin tahorim, and all other beverages are liquids are tahor, meaning date honey, apple cider, vinegar of winter grapes, and all other fruit juices are not among the 7 beverages listed by the Chachamim, and therefore they are not subject to laws of Tumah. When we say honey in the list of 7, that's referring to bees honey, not date honey. Mishnah Gimel. Ein oisin tamarim devash. A person may not make dates into date honey. Lo tapuchin yayin, nor apples into cider. Lo sisvanis chametz, nor winter grapes into vinegar. Ushar kol ha-perus ein mishanin osam mibiyosan, nor may he change any other fruits from their natural state by squeezing them into juice. But Truma or Mashashini. You cannot do any of this stuff if they are Truma or Mashashini produce. Changing a food into a liquid is considered destroying the food, and in a sense, it may not be done to fruits of Truma or Mashashini, which are forbidden to be destroyed. Ella, the exception is Zaysim Navim Bavad. The exception to this are olives and grapes alone. Because when you squeeze them for the juice, the juices, which is olive oil and wine, they become more chashuv because they have special significance, and producing them is not considered destroying the fruit. Okay, so let's continue. And I'm gonna go a little bit into Orla. Ein Sofkin Harbayim Mishum Orla. A person does not receive 40 lashes for drinking the juice of Orla fruit. What's Orla? Orla is the fruit that grows in the first 3 years after the tree is planted. This is the raisa of eating or benefiting it from it in any way. and someone who eats orla is punished with malchus, as a standard punishment for a lav in the Torah. Ella al hayotzim min hazesim min hanavim. The only time that he gets malchus arbaim is for the juice that comes from olives and grapes of orla, which is meaning wine and olive oil. That's the only exception because it's more chashuv, and therefore he would get malchus for drinking that. They aim of being bikurim mashkin, and one may not bring fruit juices as bikurim, the first fruits of the year. Ella hayotze min hazesim. I don't know. The only juices you can bring are going to be olive oil and grapes. They're more chashuv than everything else. You can't show up to the base and make this bikurim with a bottle of apple juice or orange juice, but you could definitely show up with a bottle of olive oil and wine. And fruit juices do not acquire or transfer tuma as a beverage, except for the juice that comes from olives and grapes. And we do not offer any fruit juice on the mizbeach, except for the juices that come from olives and grapes, meaning olive oil and wine. Because those are brought on the mizbeach with ola and shlamim karbanos, and it's an ingredient in most mincha offerings too. So those are important. So you see that wine and olive oil have special status more than any other beverages. Mishnah Daled, akuche te'enim grogarus v'aklisim v'acharuvim shel truma, the stems of figs, dried figs, klisim, which is the third type of fig, or carobs of truma, all the stems, asur l'zarim, they are forbidden to non-Kohanim. Even though an inedible stem does not have truma sanctity, the stems of these fruits are soft enough that they are regularly eaten along with the fruit, and therefore they have truma kedusha. Mishnah Hey, garine truma, seeds of truma fruit. Bisman shehu v'chansan. When the Kohen collects and saves the seeds as he eats the fruit with the intention of eating them, asuros, the seeds are forbidden to a non-Kohen, meaning that they must be treated as truma. Although the fruit seeds are not food and are therefore not subject to truma by Torah law, the Chachamim made a gezerah that the Kohen saved them. Therefore, he's treating them as food and not as waste, and they must be treated as truma. But if the Kohen throws them away, all the seeds, mutaros, then they're permitted to a non-Kohen. Since they've been discarded, they're not treated as truma anymore. A similar law applies to bones of karbanos. This man who mechansan machnasan asurin. When the person eating the korban collects and saves the bones with the intention of eating them, then they are asur. They have the same restrictions as the rest of the meat, other korban. However, if you threw them away, that is done with them, then they're mutter, and they are not subject to the other restrictions for the rest of the korban. Hamorsan mutter, coarse bran. Before it's ground into flour, the kernels of grain before they're ground into flour. So coarse bran of truma grain is permitted to a non-Kohen, I mean, it doesn't have the status of truma because people do not eat it. Tubin shel chadashus asurus. However, fine bran that comes from fresh grain of truma is usher to non-Kohanim. Although the bran itself does not have the truma kedusha, it tends to have regular flour, which is truma, and therefore it must non-Kohen must avoid this. The yeshanos mataros, the fine bran that comes from old grain of truma is mutter because this bran does not usually contain flour. And a Kohen may treat truma grain the same way he treats chulin grain, meaning that he may sift out the bran from the truma grain and throw it out. This bran is not truma and therefore may be destroyed. And misales kav o kabayim if a Kohen takes truma flour from which the bran has been removed and sifts it again until he's left 1 or 2 kav of fine flour or masa of ordinary flour, lo yabid as a shar, he may not destroy the leftovers that he sifted out. El yanichena b'makom amutzna, rather he must put it in a protected place, and treat it properly. Mishnah Vav. Megura shepina mimena chute truma. If there was a storeroom from which a person cleared out truma wheat, but a few scattered kernels remain, we do not require him to sit down and pick up the few remaining the kernels from truma one by one, but before putting chulin wheat in the storeroom. Rather, he may clean out the storeroom as he usually does, and he may then put chulin wheat into the storeroom. We're not concerned about the fact that the few truma kernels we mixed up. There's no significance. For all intents and purposes, they're going to be bottled to the chulin that's going to come in. A couple more mishnayos. Mishnah Zayin. Similarly, if a barrel full of truma oil spilled onto the ground, ein mechayven also the yoshev u mitafeach. Okay, we do not obligate the owner to sit and wipe up every last drop of spilled oil with his hand. Right? Rather, he treats it in the same way that he treats chulin oil that's spilled, meaning that he must salvage whatever he can, whatever he would have saved had it been chulin oil. And Mishnah Ches, Hama'are mikad kad, if a person pours wine or oil of truma from one barrel to another barrel, then notev shalosh tipim, and after emptying the first barrel, he tips out 3 more drops. Noticing the chulin, he may now put wine or oil of chulin into the empty barrel. Even though a few drops still remain, they're bottled by the chulin that's going to come in. Hirkina umitza. Sorry. If a person tipped the nearly empty barrel so that the remaining drops of truma collected at the bottom, harezu truma, this liquid is truma, even though it's only a few drops left, they are not bottled by the chulin, they maintain the truma status. The kama sehei b'srumas meiser shal demai v'yachel kohen. Okay, so how much is the minimum amount of trumas meiser of demai that a person is required to bring to a kohen? Echad mishmona l'shminis, 1/8 of an eighth of a log, which is 1/64th of a log. If a person has less than this amount, he does not have to bring it to a kohen. Okay, Mishnah Test, 2 more to go. Test and test and good. Okay, almost done. Mishnah test. Kashine Truma, vetch, that is Truma. Ma'achilin oso, Ma'achilin osam, the behema, the chaya, the sarnagolim. A Kohen may feed it to his domestic animals, to his wild animals, or to his chickens. Why? Because veg is usually used as animal feed, and therefore feeding it to an animal is not considered wasteful because that's its intended purpose. However, truma veg may only be fed to a Kohen's animal. So Yisrael shin sacher par mikohen. If Yisrael went to the cow from a Kohen, machila kashine truma, he may feed it veg, a truma veg. Even though the Yisrael has the right to use the cow, is responsible to feed it. It belongs to a Kohen, therefore the Yisrael may feed it truma. If a Kohen is sachar par Yisrael, but if a Kohen rented a cow, Yisrael, Ava Pishma Shimizonoseha love, even though he's obligated to provide the animal, even though the obligation to feed the animal is on the renter who's a Kohen, lo yalichena kashine truma, he may not feed it truma veg, because the animal belongs to Yisrael, and truma may not be fed to the animal of Yisrael. Period. Yisrael sham para mikohen. If Yisrael assessed the value of a cow before he leased it before he leased it from a Kohen, and he agreed to repay the Kohen the value of no matter what, lo yalichena kashina chuma, the Yisrael may not feed the cow chuma veg, because even though he technically belongs to a Kohen, the Yisrael is considered its owner because he accepted full responsibility for it. Therefore, it may not be fed truma. The Kohen shisham par Yisrael, but if a Kohen assessed the value of a cow before he leased it from Yisrael, and he agreed to repay the Yisrael that value no matter what, machila kashine truma, and the Kohen may feed the cow truma veg, because in such a case, the Kohen accepted full responsibility of the animal, and therefore it's considered to be its owner, and he may feed it truma. And finally, madlikin shemes reifa basic for Mishnah Yud, madlikin shemes reifa bebate knesiyos. We may kindle a light with oil that must be burned in the shuls. Truma oil that became tame, you could light that in the shuls, about the midrashos, and in study halls, open the villas, failing, and in dark alleyways. Even though non-Kohanim will be in these places and benefit from the light, it was the rabbis who asked non-Kohanim from deriving benefit from such oil, and they also made an exception to these cases, since the light serves as a public need. Al gabe achulin, and a person may use truma oil that is tame to light a flame over sick people, even if they're non-Kohanim. Reshus Kohen, if a Kohen is present, as long as the Kohen is in the room to benefit from the light of the truma oil, then any non-Kohen may also benefit from the light as well. Okay, Bas Yisrael Shanisis the Kohen. If the daughter of Yisrael is married to a Kohen, he Lamuda Eitzel of Yeh, and she is accustomed to come and stay with her father, Avia Madlik Reshusa, then the Kohen may use her father. No, sorry, her father is not a Kohen. Her father-in-law is a Kohen. Her father may use truma oil that is tamei to kindle a light with truma that is But Truma oil that's tummy while she is present. Since the daughter is married to a Kohen, she is permitted to benefit from Truma, and therefore her father may also benefit from the light of Truma while she is present. Madlikin the base Hamishte, we may kindle lights, we may kindle lamps with Truma oil that is tummy in the banquet hall if a Kohen is present. I will a base Eva, but not in a shiva house. Why? Because in a shiva house, the Truma oil cannot be used, even if a Kohen is present, because we're concerned that people might take a lamp out of the house to a place where a Kohen is not present, and that's a problem. We're not concerned about that in a banquet hall because it's unlikely people will take out a lamp. Rabbi Yehuda, this is according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi says that it is mutter to use the Truma oil that is tummy b'beis ovel in the house of mourning. Avlo b'beis mitzvah. He reverses it. He says yes to a shiva house and no to a banquet hall. Because he says that more people are going to remove a lamp from the banquet hall, but not from the shiva house. Rabbi Meir Oser Kamakan. Rabbi Meir Aser's lighting a lamp in both situations because people are going to take it anywhere. Anyway, and Rabbi Shimon Matir Kamakan, and Rabbi Shimon Matir's using the tummy oil both here and there, both in a banquet hall and house in the morning, because he's not concerned about people taking things out of there in either case. Hajjalach, Meseches, Trumas. We will see you tomorrow as we begin Maestros. Have a wonderful day.